Hey, it's Christopher Swan, and welcome to this week's episode of Living Your Journey. This is where I chat with the folks that understand their passions, their career paths, their focus, kind of like following their North Star. Their story may change as they go, but that's okay because they understand that they're on their journey every day. Additional information about each episode, guest, and more can be found at accidentalinformation.com. So this week I talk with Gaida, the author of the Amazon #1 best-selling book, Arm Candy. Also, Chris has held various roles in the entertainment world as a producer, development producer, and a lot more. Chris's book shares his experience as a red carpet A-list celebrity escort. That's when celebrities are escorted on the red carpet to their event. I bet that's not what you were thinking when I said escort. Chris and I talk about why he wrote his book, responses to it, his path through the entertainment world, and the lessons he's learned paying his dues. But most importantly, he talks about his passion to learn, and you'll definitely hear how curiosity plays the main role in his journey. And it's also part of the advice to others. By staying curious, you can keep evolving the things you try and do. It was so fun talking to Chris, and he surprised me a couple times with his answers. Oh, and his reference to the 80s Dynasty TV show as inspiration to getting past a challenge? So brilliant. Okay, let's jump into it. Well, I'm glad that you said yes. Let me just first say that because I know we haven't chatted for a long time, back in the Disney days, I think.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, and no, I'm honored to be a part of it. I like the longer conversations too, because I think I can get to explain myself more. I did a couple talk shows where I got 2 minutes, and it's hard to really explain who I am and what the book's about, and my journey. So I love the extra time that we have.
Yeah, me too. Because it's funny because I knew you before the book. And, then seeing the book come out, and the fanfare and the fun around that. And then just also seeing where your career goes, it's different because I think if you come up with something, a product or something that you deliver that gets a lot of recognition, that's sometimes the thing that you're known for. But I know there's so much more about you than, just that. I mean, it's a great thing, but I know you're doing other things as well.
Yeah, I've obviously had a lot of dreams and I have a lot of interests over the years. And for me, actually, when the book did come out, it was interesting because you kind of found out really who your friends were. There were some people that were mad that I wrote the book. There were some people that were jealous that I wrote the book. Some people that were extra excited for me and really supported me and appreciated it. And there were some people that were indifferent. So it really took a lot of twists and turns that I did not expect.
Yeah, I'm going to want to unpack that a little bit later because I actually have just even personally some of those questions of what that was probably like for you. So let me take a step back and say, so we have Chris Gaida here telling us his story about, and I'm going to have you summarize this a little bit differently in your own words, but from my perspective, definitely this journey kind of through entertainment and Hollywood and TV and just all sorts of entertainment, really. This journey of creating and telling stories and just kind of making, the magic come to life, really. And so, I've known you quite a few years through back in the day when we were both at Disney, but then watching your journey go along. You've played so many roles that, just looking at meaning roles and like the different types of jobs you've been in film and TV, and even like a marketing and comms, which you seem to be very good at because I know you're doing that for your book as well. I'd love to know how you describe your career and passion. Kind of like, what does this trajectory look like for you?
My career and my passion, I guess, are two separate different categories. My career has been definitely a roller coaster. Lots of ups and downs, a lot of twists, unexpected turns. My passion has always been the same. I've always wanted to learn new things and to try things that I never thought were possible. To me, the excitement in life is to to experiment, to see if you're good at something. People are always saying, like going back to school, for example, oh, they shouldn't do that because they're not good at school. And my point is, go back to school, because the point of school is to learn. And it makes no sense to say you're not good at it. You haven't even tried it to realize that or not. And for me, so, I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to meet celebrities. I always wanted to produce. I always wanted to be a part of the television world. When I was a child, I used that as a great escape. I loved a lot of the sitcoms and just a lot of the shows in general as a little bit of an escape into a world and to expand my family. I had a very good family growing up, but having these extra quote unquote members of my family, I think, help enrich my life.
How did you connect then the passion of, this kind of escapism or just the interest in storytelling and that sort of stuff? How do you connect with that passion of always wanting to learn and try? Is that coming out through, writing stories and producing entertainment, or how do those connect for you?
I guess in college, I was very practical, and I studied pre-law, and I've always had a passion for entertainment and watching it. But I had a roommate that said, take a class in entertainment. So I did, and I enjoyed it. And again, I thought, I'll never get a job in this. And Hollywood, oh my God, it's all the way across the country. Forget it. How do I even get there? I had, been on a plane, but maybe to Florida or, on the East Coast only. I grew up in Philadelphia. So everything just seemed millions and millions of miles away. But through classes and through getting things wrong and realizing my life did not fall apart when I made a mistake, that I decided to have the courage to keep trying. And you only know by trying. And I figured, I'm young, I might as well do it now, because I don't want to be somebody who's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and to have regrets.
Yeah, that's smart. Well, what about when you were taking classes and trying and the failing piece, like, hey, I just got to do it. Did you have some sort of vision or something that you were aiming toward, or was it more like, I just want general knowledge about this entertainment world and I don't know what I don't know?
More general knowledge. I really wanted to learn a little bit about everything, and that in many ways has hurt me and has helped me. Usually in entertainment, what I'm finding out and continuing to find out is everybody wants a specialty, and you're good at one thing, and that's kind of what you do, and you do that for the rest of your life. I was always raised to know a little bit about everything. Mm-hmm. I knew how to change the oil in my car and change the tires. I knew how to, take wallpaper down or just do all kinds of random tasks that most people don't even try to do or care about. And that's kind of entertainment. I wanted to know a little bit about makeup, even though I certainly didn't want to be a makeup artist. I wanted to know about writing and directing and producing. And even when I was on my first set, I was asking the lighting crew why they were lighting certain things a certain way and why such big lights were needed, and just really the curiosity and just asking lots of questions, what I thought were good questions, not annoying questions.
I love that. How did the wallpaper knowledge transcribe over to your book?
I think about learning how to deal with frustration and difficult things, and taking wallpaper down is probably a very difficult task most of the time.
Right. That's funny. Hey, well, actually, I normally when we have these conversations with folks, we kind of start from the beginning, and we kind of go backwards and talk through the journey a little bit of the different roles. And I definitely want to hear that from you. But because we kind of jumped in a little bit about the book. I'd love to talk in a little bit more about that, and like jumping in the middle of kind of your world and into, for the folks that don't know, Chris is the author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Arm Candy. So, I'd love for the listeners to describe your book. And then what I'd like to know a little bit is about why create this kind of story, and how does it support this passion of knowledge and this journey into the entertainment world?
Sure. For years and years, I was an escort for celebrities, and basically, it's a very unknown career that has existed for decades. And basically, I would handle celebrities at A-list events like the Oscars and Grammys, etc. And I would handle A-list celebrities everyone from Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston, to Whitney Houston, Vanessa Williams, and etc. And I would go to parties, or people would ask what I do, and they would always be fascinated with that aspect of my life. As most people are, they really want to know about what celebrities are like, and was it cool, and what was the parties like. So I decided to write a book about it. I knew it would cause a little bit of backlash within the award show world because nobody ever had talked about being a celebrity escort. And like I said, it was a secret for decades. But I figured as long as I'm honest, as long as I'm truthful, and as long as I'm fair, I feel like this is something that the general public would enjoy, and I still wouldn't burn too many bridges. And I kind of approached it as an undercover reporter. So the last couple years that I did it, I took more pictures. I really tried to write more things down, and so the book was starting to be made. I did not know how to write a book. I thought it was a very daunting task. I've always wanted to write a book, but trying to write about yourself, I think, is very difficult because the reader could easily take it as, oh, he thinks he's so great. Oh, wow, who cares about this celebrity? He's loves to hang out with stars. There's actually a phrase for that I was about to use. But to me, it was really just about the lessons I learned, and the coming from Philadelphia as a little boy, dreaming about hanging out with celebrities, and then in fact actually having that happen was a big deal, and writing the book. So I put together a huge manuscript. It wasn't complete, but it was like 90 pages, and it had what the future chapters were going to be about, and lots of pictures and stuff. And I shopped it around, and I've gotten rejection after rejection after rejection. But I'm also a big believer and follower of Anthony Robbins, who talks about, I think it was Colonel Sanders, who was rejected something like 90 times or something, and he finally got the right person. And then finally I got the right publisher that wanted to tell the story allow me to tell the story the way I wanted to tell it. I had some bigger publishers who wanted me to just bash celebrities or to make up some stuff or to indulge, but I really wanted to be what it's like for an average person to be in this world and what the reader would experience if they were lucky enough to be a part of it.
Was writing the book, even just doing that part of it, was that kind of that new world? Like, you hadn't done that before. So obviously, to me, even that sounds very daunting. And I have a background of doing some writing, but that just sounds overwhelming a little bit. But did that kind of like help maybe sustain that craving of trying something new, doing something different, but also being authentic and telling your own story?
Yeah, the more I thought about it and the more I planned to write the book, the more I realized I really needed to do it. I just thought of another celebrity escort writing this book and me seeing it on the bookshelves, and how for the rest of my life I'd be bitter and angry that I just dreamt it, but I never actually did anything for it. So when I realized that there was no turning back and that I just had to do it, I actually quit Disney because they wanted to own rights to it. If you do anything creatively, they would take the rights to it. I tried to negotiate with them about that, and it's just the rule there, like a lot of big companies. So I quit, and I thought, great, I can work 8 hours, 9 hours a day, treat this like a job. I'll sit there and write it, bang it out in 3 months and on my way. It was not that way at all. I'd sit in front of the computer, and then I'd say, oh, you know what? I have laundry to do.
Right.
Oh, I need to walk the dogs. I need to anything and everything possible. My house had never been any cleaner. My refrigerator was completely stocked, everything. And it would get like 4:00 and I'd say, oh, you know what? Let's just start fresh tomorrow. And tomorrow's a new day, and I'll write. Through that painful process of basically 6 months and not getting anything done, I realized I just needed to do about an hour a day and give myself like a minimum type little goal. And when I accomplished that, I'd feel good. And then after doing it, 5 or 6 times, then I'd feel better about writing. And it eventually became a little bit more pleasurable than it was before. It was always a little bit painful because it was hard, again, for me to separate myself because I was writing about myself and to be objective as possible. And in the book, I make fun of myself. I really, just as much as when I make fun of celebrities, I make fun of myself. I try to keep it fair in that sense.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense to me as you talk about this writing piece. Like it got a little bit easier the more you went. Starting sometimes is the hardest part of getting in there. And it's funny that you talk about this, like, cleaning the house, walking the dog. I have been there. I've worked remote for quite a few years, and you have to get into this routine and really push yourself and find the way it's going to work. And it's interesting too, because you clearly wanted to write this book. It wasn't that you didn't have a desire to get it done. It was really finding the practice that worked for you.
Right. And for some reason, if you give yourself these little tiny goals that are ridiculously small, like I have the entire day, can I write 45 minutes? Yeah, I can do that. They're easier to do when you wind up writing maybe an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half instead of that 45, just because you gave yourself not such a daunting goal. And I think that applies to a lot of things like weight loss or other chores or habits you want to do. Just make it a small, easy, obtainable goal, and then you can always do more.
Do you apply that to even just other areas in your career or things that you're learning now?
I have since then. I've realized that I do procrastinate on some things that I didn't realize. And I actually watched a TED Talk recently that said about procrastination, and he made a good point of you may push things off for your whole life because you're thinking, oh, I'm only 30 or I'm only, I'm not that out of shape, or I can always put this off. But if you actually think about how many weeks you have of your life left, and you kind of look at it, you can't keep pushing things off, or decades will pass and years will pass and decades will pass. So I try to attack things. You also have all this, I feel drained a little bit when I'm pushing things off. And I think you're always thinking about it. So now if I don't want to do something, I just do it right away to get it done with. And then I feel like the rest of my day is so much happier and easier.
That's a good point. Yeah, I read something once that talked about do the hardest task, or the one task you really don't want to do it first thing in the day. And so I've been practicing that as well, because then I'm like, okay, now it's done, and I don't have to wait all day and think about it and procrastinate and, like you said, drained. So that's smart.
Yeah, I used to have if you have 10 tasks, I used to do the ones that are quickest to do first. So I could be like, oh, look, this is great. I got 7 of the 10 things done. But now I'm kind of restructuring it of doing the hardest, most difficult one first. So then the rest of the day just kind of breezes by.
That's exactly it. Hey, well, I know you also just re-released the book just this last January, I believe, and it has an extra chapter and some extra thoughts on there. Was that something that you had to sit down and write again, or is it something you were like, oh, I had some pieces in there already that I could actually pull together?
No, it's something I wanted to reflect after a year of it being out, of my journey since then, and be able to reflect back. I think a lot of times you don't hear what happens after a big event occurs. And for me, I wanted to reflect back of, did I do the right thing? And what were people's reactions? And what did I learn about myself and about other people since then? So I did a lot of reflection in that. And I also just wanted to tell about the goals and accomplishments and use that as inspiration for people to go push forward and to not worry about what people say.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And without giving it away, because we want people to go get the new edition of that. You talked about some of the backlash and, pieces of that had come out after the book. What was that like for you? Because that must have been, I look at that as maybe like a challenge in your path of, to your next goal of what you're going to do in your career. Did that, or what kind of role did that kind of backlash or even support? How did that support or backlash affect you moving forward in the next step of your career?
Sure. When I was writing it, I knew some people were going to be upset. I knew that things were going to be said or analyzed, overanalyzed, and maybe people would insinuate things. But what I wasn't expecting were people that were just outright make up lies or just say things that are crazy that didn't even make any sense. For example, the day before the book came out, I got a Facebook message from someone saying they'll make sure I never work in this town again, and my book was terrible, and how dare I say all these bad things. And the funny thing is, none of my books had been released. Nobody had gotten advance copies. I didn't send any to press or anything on purpose. I wanted it all to be available the first day. So the fact that they were saying that they didn't like it and that I made up lies was based on nothing, because nobody could have read it. And there was actually one book review written by a mainstream press that I'm not even going to mention, that said that the book was boring and that they didn't like it, and they never even had a copy of it. So I thought that was ironic. So I didn't expect like just outright lies about things, but it took me by surprise. But I didn't expect the amount of great people have reached out and tell me how it touched their life. Like one girl wound up getting a divorce because she was struggling in a marriage that she just wasn't happy with, and she realized she got the strength to kind of leave her husband and to move on. And somebody went back to grad school. Actually, she just graduated, and she sent me a message the other day saying, "I have a graduate degree because of you." And just things that I'm like, wow, I did not expect that at all. It was meant to be like a fun story about what happens with celebrities on red carpets, and people are changing their lives about it. So I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I wonder if has that changed the way you even look at projects you do, or the type of work you're going to take in the future? Because, like you said, this was going to be this fun book and fun story, and we think of a lot of entertainment probably that way. But has that made you kind of shape what you're working on now?
Well, I realized that the more people know, the more people you know, the more people actually are influenced by you. And you kind of go through your day every day. You don't realize what impact you have on other people around you. And it could be a minor thing of, your neighbor's car breaks down and you help them across the street. Or it could be just you say hello to somebody that's just having a terrible day. And just little thing, you hear about that. And I hate even saying it because it sounds so cheesy, and like really saying hello is going to help make a difference. But you really just don't know how things impact other people. I didn't realize that, there was 3 girls in high school that had huge crushes on me. Nobody asked me out or anything, and they were inspired by me, and they thought all these things about me. And here I am going through high school and not thinking anybody cared about me or anything. So you really just don't know who's watching you and who's influenced or not influenced by you.
That's so true. And I don't know you or I don't know this detail about you personally, but I think I've read this somewhere too, and especially when you were younger, you were a shy guy too. Is that true?
Extremely shy. And I don't even like media interviews. I've turned down a bunch of them because I don't like being on camera. I don't like being on talking about myself. I actually did the Ricky Lake show, and I was pacing back and forth, and I think I included this in my last chapter. I'm trying to remember now, but I had a little shot of tequila that I brought with me to the set, because I was like, I got to do something to make me loosen up for this interview. But yeah,
that's powerful. Actually, if you think about that, I mean, think about what you're doing in your career and, the places you put it in, but you still haven't let it get in your way. It sounds like.
No, it feels like it's weird for me. It feels like because it's difficult, I need to do it. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to grow from something. I mean, to say that I was on a national talk show for me is the coolest thing ever. I remember watching Oprah growing up and just being like, wow, that'd be amazing to be on these shows. And I'm like, I'll never be on one of these shows. I'm not going to be a movie star, and I'm not going to murder anyone. So like, how am I going to get on these shows? And to actually have a book come out that I wrote and to be on a national talk show was like 2 dreams come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like the more you try things and you go that path where it is difficult, but you really want it, other doors seem to open that you didn't think would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just the awareness, like you talked earlier about general knowledge, just about entertainment. You didn't know anything until you actually tried it, even if it was scary. Like, what are you going to fail? Why does it matter? Those are all really powerful statements. I think a lot of us probably get in our own way, because we're afraid of something or afraid just to take the chance.
And I think that the more things you try, you might not necessarily be successful in many people's eyes. I don't have a ton of money. I don't have a huge retirement savings. I don't have these other things that people my age, my peers, my friends have. But they also worked the same job for the last 15, 20 years. Are bored out of their minds and didn't really grow as a person. And for me, I think it's more valuable that I I lived in New York. I lived in LA. I lived in DC. I traveled all over. I met celebrities. I was on the red carpet. I did all of these things that I thought were impossible and were just fun experiences. And I got to meet all sorts of people.
Yeah, and I think that's even the most important thing. It's just these experiences and these people. So I'd love for you to like just take a now take me back a little bit to your early days in your career. Just even looking at your LinkedIn profile or just knowing some of the stuff you've done. You've had a variety of roles in entertainment and like writing, production coordination, talent logistics, even accounting. What was that time like for you in your career? As in, was this about getting like your foot in the door and just being part of that world? Making it work for you or paying your dues?
Or my early 20s were, I graduated college. I thought, oh, great, I should be able to get a job as a producer. I studied production. I did really well. People are going to see I went to a good school and I'm going to get a job. Well, that did not happen. I applied for jobs. Nobody would get back to me. I struggled really hard. In DC, I was trying to get a job at Discovery Channel, and I would contact alumni. Nobody would get back to me. It just seemed like nothing was happening. And then I got this offer in New York for $50 a week to PA on a movie, independent film. And I was like, well, how the heck am I going to do that? Luckily, I had a friend of the family who had a house outside in New Jersey that would let me stay there for free. And I basically used the $50 for train fare every week to get back and forth. And I worked 16-hour days and I learned the business, and I felt like I put my dues in, and that led to another project and kind of led to another project. And I kept putting my dues in, and things weren't happening at the speed that I thought they should happen, because I'm a college graduate. I should be able to get any job. And it was just, you have a lot of energy when you're first out and you're a little naive and you don't really understand how the world works. But I'm glad I did all those experiences because I met some great people and I really, truly learned a lot about everything that I didn't know anything about. Like I said, I would question the guys about lighting, and I didn't know about double shadows and why it was that important. And so I just learned a lot of lessons, and I feel like it was a fun time because I kept learning and I kept growing. And it was a good time. It was a very poor time.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It doesn't matter so much when you're younger, I think. It's harder when you're older and you want to restart a career, I think, because you have a mortgage or you have kids or you have other responsibilities, and it's harder to go back. But I definitely think it's doable if your passion's in it. You believe in something. I'm all for it. I'm actually considering going back to school.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. I think that follows right along with Mr. Curious is what it sounds like you are, though. You're doing a lot of great stuff today, but there's always room to grow. I'm curious about this school. Is it something a different direction or something else you want to do?
I applied and have been accepted to Villanova Law School.
Oh, wow.
In Philadelphia, and I'm just trying to make that decision. I have to make it, I think, in June or July, and every day I'm thinking about it. I'm also thinking about projects that I'm producing and pitching, and just trying to figure out, what not the second half, but the next part of my life looks like. And I love the idea of law school. I studied pre-law. I enjoyed it. I had an internship at the Public Defender's Service when I was in school and enjoyed it. I also feel that there's just a lot more for me to learn on the business side of entertainment. So it's just trying to figure out what makes sense.
Well, it sounds like, though, that you have this real journey of just self-discovery and just kind of following the things that you love to do. It's not all packaged into one industry. It could be multiple industries for you. I'm putting words in your mouth. You tell me when I'm wrong. But what I see out of this or hear about this is, like, what you're about, what you love, and you want to discover the world, and that could take you into entertainment even further down the road, as well as it doesn't prevent you from doing law. You could do that as well if you want. It's just about doing what you love.
It's about doing what you love, and I feel like there's a lot of times that you get a plateau in life, and I feel there's a lot of people that try to stop you from doing things or slow you down, and I don't mind jumping back and forth, but I don't like being at a standstill. I don't like waiting for people. I don't like waiting for I feel like everybody takes too much time deciding what they're going to do or making decisions, and I think people just need to evaluate who they are, evaluate what their job is, and do them. And the biggest frustration to me in life is when people don't do their job. And that's, I don't care if you're a janitor, I don't care what you do, whatever you do, you should do it well until you don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. What keeps you then, kind of, I don't know, maybe not a vision, but what keeps you moving ahead? Is it just the learning discovery? Is it because because even after this, I love to talk a little bit about what you're doing today, on the morning show and the development production. But what keeps you like moving ahead and doing a job really well?
I just think there's a responsibility and a work ethic that I don't know if I was born into or I just learned along the way. But I feel like if you're going to do something, do it well. You don't have to do it perfect, because that's when you try to do it perfect, that's when you don't do anything because you get too scared that you're going to mess it up. But you do it the best you can with the knowledge you have at the time, and you learn from it. A good example with my book was that I didn't know how an author was supposed to work with a publisher, and I didn't understand the inner workings of that dynamic. And when the book came out, the publisher had brought it to an editor that really messed it up. So the first group of books that went out had a terrible editing job. And I did not know that until my first book signing. It was the first time I saw the book. I opened the book. I was really proud of it. I saw the cover. I was like, oh, wow, there's me. I'm great. This is great. I opened it up. And on the first page, I saw 2 mistakes. And I just, my blood pressure went through the roof. And I was like, how could this happen? The mistakes weren't there when the draft I gave the publisher. So the editor had created these mistakes, but I didn't know that I should have, checked the editor's work. And to be in control of that. And I didn't have, the first set of books went out were bad. That got quickly fixed after a few phone calls by me that were not very pleasant. And every copy went out, after about, I think it was like 3 weeks. Every copy after went out has been fixed and better. But a couple readers that got it, dinged me a couple stars and had comments to say about the poor editing, which I totally 100% agree with. And I wish the publisher would give them a free copy of the edited book. But you learn from it. You learn that you need to sometimes micromanage your projects and not assume that people are going to do their job the best that they can.
Right. Well, it also sounds like it's 2 pieces of that, right? It's kind of your baby, it's your stuff, and you want to come, to the table as good as you can be. Like you said, it's not perfection, but it's, you're doing your best at it. But you're also like, not everybody is in that, doesn't have that same mindset, right? So you have to watch out for some of that stuff and protect what you care about.
Yeah, I was actually shocked. I kept saying, I don't understand how this could happen. Don't you people want to make money? Why would you mess up this more than it was? Like, I'm not the best writer, but you're supposed to make it better, not worse than where it was at. I don't understand. You're making the majority of the profits. Like, it couldn't even register in my mind that this could happen. But even when things don't make sense, it's just a lesson to me that I really need, if I'm putting something out there for the public, I need to double check and triple check every person who contributed to that, because it's my name and my reputation. And in the end, it's what I can be proud of or not proud of.
Right. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, whatever you're proud of, and you want to be proud of your work, because it's especially if it's in the public, that's what people remember about you.
Right.
Earlier we talked about, you gave some examples about how you've inspired folks and that you didn't even realize that you could do that. I wonder, just through kind of your discovery of what you've been doing with, going to school, this different, path through Hollywood, even thinking about law school. What inspires you? What inspires you in these spaces to learn this stuff? Not just you're curious, but is there anything that kind of inspires you to be better, to do more?
I think the challenge of just, how far could I go and how much can I learn, and I don't know. I think making other people happy, that's down to my soul, is that I really want to please people, and I want people to be proud of me and to say, he's a good friend. He is an honest person. He holds a lot of values. On a not so serious level, I like fun 80s shows. So I'll watch Dynasty over and over again, get inspired. I'll get inspired by their challenge, their make-believe challenges, but for somehow it translates in my little brain that I'm like, oh, I can overcome that. They overcame this.
That's hilarious.
That's a little thing. Watching an episode of Dynasty will always get me out of a funk.
And I'm totally not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because I'm like, I totally know what you're talking about.
Right. And the funny thing is, I didn't watch Dynasty in the 80s. It was only like probably 4 or 5 years ago where I watched it, and I've been hooked since.
And now it's different than if you watched it probably back then where it was, it was current. And now there's this level of, kind of cool, kitschy sort of stuff to it as well.
Right. It's just fun. It's a good little escape. And then it does have like little valuable lessons, I feel like, in it that a lot of television and movies don't have anymore. There's a little bit of a class. I don't know how to describe it to people, but there's a little bit of a class to it where people are trying to be good. I think now people are trying to be bad.
Huh, that's interesting.
It's about being stupid and being, instead of trying to educate yourself or to make yourself better at something, I think it's dumbing yourself down and making up words that don't exist and doing things that are just kind of stupid. And I get that it could be funny in the moment, but I don't really feel like it advances your life in any way.
I wonder if that's because when you said that, what resonated for me was because we have this connection or this opportunity. There's so many avenues for people to share their information online, YouTube, that sort of stuff. And I wonder if it's, there's this opportunity for anybody to do anything. So people want to stand out. So I think they do a lot of silly things. Like, as much as I love some YouTubers, there are also some YouTubers that I think, really, you're doing that on camera? Okay. And I also think, well, I'm not, 19, I'm in my 40s. So it's totally different. So maybe I have a different perspective, but I think I kind of connect when you're like, yeah, there's a lot of like dumb stuff that's happening. And I think it is people are trying to stand out, or we didn't have that avenue back then, back when Dynasty was around.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting too that people want to stand out. And for me, I wanted to hang out back when I first started this. I wanted to hang out with celebrities to also feel valid. And it's so great. I took a picture with so-and-so that makes me important. It makes me special. And now it's like I've been healed. I healed myself by going to these events and realizing, celebrities are just people struggling for their own careers, and they have their own goals and ambitions, and they're just as special as we are. And that we need to be improving our lives and going forward. Just taking a picture of celebrity doesn't make you any more special. For some reason, I put a picture of me and Julia Roberts, and everybody in the world that I put on Facebook, everybody on Facebook is jealous and happy, and you're lucky and getting all these comments, but it really didn't do anything for me. Talking to her and learning from her, I gained far more than just taking a picture with them.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. I wonder if part of that comes with, I never say age, because I actually don't think age and wisdom are the same thing. But I think it's about experience. You're right about healing yourself, right? You go through these experiences and you have this kind of, not aha moment, but I kind of believe in small aha moments. Like, things start to add up and you start to realize, like, yeah, well, celebrities are people as well. And it's
right. And people have accused me, you just want to hang out with celebrities. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. I mean, I do love celebrities. I think they're interesting people. I think they have interesting challenges unlike anyone can ever even imagine in life. But I think that they're also unique in the way that they can create huge amounts of change in what they do and how they act. And many of them do it for the worst or don't even think about it. But some, live good lives and have good examples and have good families and values that I think that can inspire other people.
Yeah. Well, it also sounds like you do that in your own way as well, right? Like, just sharing your story and, trying to, make people happy, inspire.
I try. And when I wrote the book, it was more about, telling I took a picture with this person and that was cool. And it wasn't about me being cool, but it was just about what it was like for somebody to experience that. What is it? if I read this story, I would know what it's like to be at the Oscars from a normal person's point of view, not from some BS from somebody who a reporter interviews a celebrity on the red carpet. You're going to get a different story than me talking to a celebrity for 5 hours on a red carpet. I think they're going to give two different answers to the same question, and I think that was the real purpose. But in writing and meeting all these people, I have changed my perspective, and I've learned a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that we kind of touch on the show is really around some tangible things, and I think you've talked about some stuff already. And when you talk about tangible things, it's about, you know, for the listeners, the folks that are listening to you and saying, "Gosh, you know, well, he's had such an interesting, you know, development career. He's kind of not. It's not just about the celebrities, but you've tried a lot of different things, and you know." How, and that's why I kind of asked you about what inspires you. Are there any things that you can think of that you would even say, you know what, this is something I really learned, or this is something you should try if you're struggling in your career, or you want to remake it, or you want to try something different? Anything that you would advise somebody to say, do this or think about this?
I think there's little things that people can do, like drive a different way to work. If you go the same way every time, try a different way. If you get lost, make it fun. It's not a big deal that you made a left instead of a right. You could do little things like that. But also, if you're just stuck in life, jump out of a plane. Do something dramatic. I think you need to shake up your system a little bit. I jumped out of a plane twice. Both times I felt bored, depressed. The first time I'd broken up with someone, I was really down on myself. Really did not have a lot of self-worth in a lot of ways, and it just given up on a lot of things. And I jumped out of a plane, and I was literally an hour later was a completely different person.
I would think so, because that terrifies me.
Exactly. I'm afraid of heights, so I made myself do it. And I learned that, I don't know, it just changes your style. I don't even know what I learned from it. I don't know if there's something that you could explain. I just think it like reformulates your cells or something. I don't, the fear and the adrenaline, and it just made me a completely different person after that.
I could see that. I can almost see it as like, you know, you did this extreme thing, like whatever you're going through, not so bad. you know, I could have died. It's
just this energy that all of a sudden you didn't have. And I think especially for people that are depressed, if you're depressed, I'm not a big believer in medication. I know some people need it, and I try not. If I get a headache, I don't take an aspirin, because I think an aspirin masks what the problem is, and I need to figure out what the problem is. And the problem might be I need more sleep, or it might mean I need more water. So I drink a glass of water, and if that doesn't work, then I'll take a nap, or I'll try to figure out what the problem is rather than mask it. And I think by doing something like jumping out of a plane or doing something that terrifies you, I think it'll jump you out of your depression at least a little bit enough that you can get ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually like that. I love that you talked about, like, you know, getting to the root of the problem versus just masking it. You know, I know we're getting close to time, but before we even kind of wrap this up, you know, one thing that we haven't talked about too is kind of what your current world looks like. I know that you have optioned some shows, and you have also working on the morning show on the Playboy channel, I believe.
Yes.
So what's your world look like right now? You know, I know you released the book, just re-released it just a while ago. You're on these shows. What's your world like?
Right now, I am working on the Playboy morning show, which I book celebrities, and everybody thinks Playboy, so, you know, naked people and all that. I think ours is a talk show, so it's a little more mainstream, and so I book celebrities on there. So yes, I'm still working with celebrities. No, I didn't burn all these bridges that I thought. There was a couple people at award show that ran award shows that were like middle management that were upset with me, and probably still are upset with me, but I could care less about them anyway. The producers of the show and the celebrities still I work with greatly. So I still do that. I am developing a couple of reality shows. I've had 3 options right now. Hopefully they will get greenlit with the network and move forward. But this is a newer thing for me. I didn't know how to do a reality show from development point of view. And so that's been interesting and a long journey. And I applied for law school, got accepted into law school, so trying to figure that out as well. And I'm back on the East Coast, so I'm hanging out with family as much as possible, and then also revisiting friends from college and that I've made in New York and over the years, and just really enjoying life on a personal level a lot more, and spending my time with my dogs.
I love that you talked about this. This even when you talk about the reality show pieces, like you almost said it like, oh, well, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know how to create that. I'm like, that seems to be the theme for you. I love that you're like, no big deal. Like, even if you are kind of like, I don't actually know what to do and you're going to stumble. But that's been a real thread to the conversation that I keep hearing from you. And I love that because, sometimes even this show, for example, so this is a new show for me. And this is, you talked about, what if you're going to restart something in your 40s? Well, guess what I'm doing? So it is some of that, that resonated for me, Chris, that you even talked about like, yeah, I didn't really know how to do that. Yeah, I've never podcasted in my life. And guess what I'm doing now? So I think you're speaking a real good truth there. And then it comes back to this, you're enjoying your life. And
it's funny. I didn't really think about that in the terms that you put it, but it's true. It's just, if I don't know what it's interesting to me, I do want to learn about it and figure it out. And the truth of the matter is you meet a lot of people that just really don't know what they're doing, especially in entertainment. And you wonder how they got their jobs. And it's like, well, if they can do it and they don't know what they're doing, I can certainly figure it out and talk to people that, are experts. Or internet's amazing where you can learn, and I don't want to just put something together. I want to do it properly and make tweaks along the way. Because again, you pitch a show to Spike TV, for example. I can't walk in there and be a mess. I need to know exactly what it was. But once I met with them the first time, then I know a little bit more how to like tweak my show ideas a little bit more, give them a little bit more what they're looking for. So again, what always paralyzed me was trying to be perfect and trying to make things perfect. And I just realized I don't need to.
No, you don't. We waste a lot of time doing that. I've learned that actually through the years as well. I worked in technology for a while at LinkedIn. And, the thing that we really learned there too was there's always another version coming out. There's version 1.1 coming out tomorrow. So just good enough is okay. Get it out. I'm not saying that their product is good enough, but it's saying that, don't get lost in that because you'll never release anything. And same for your career.
Yeah, it's paralyzing to think about trying to be perfect or trying to you just try your best from what you know at the time, and you keep growing and learning. And I don't think any experience in any industry, even if it's unrelated, is a waste of time. I think you learn something, and at the very least, you get some valuable friends that can listen to you complain when things aren't going right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been fascinating. I mean, thank you for taking us through through your world. Just personally for me, it's been fun just to kind of catch up and hear kind of where your adventures have gone. But I love hearing that it's not just one thing that drives you, but you have this curiosity that can take you in other places. And that's a great, I think, message to anybody that's listening about figuring out what your passion is, but also don't have blinders on. Go learn. Keep doing it.
Yeah, and I think everybody has that curiosity. We're just taught that you have to get rid of it. You have to just like one thing and do that for the rest of your life, or be focused in one area. And I think all of us have, at least 5 different curiosities. And why not go for all of them? You have to do one at a time. I don't think you can do them all at once or you'll never get anything done. But you focus on one, and then that may take the back burner, and then focus on the other.
That's so great. Well, thanks again, Chris. I appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck. Hopefully the book is also doing well again. I know I've been seeing more about it online, so I can't wait to hear if you actually start law school.
Thank you. And thank you for not asking me what celebrity dress that I like the best from what award show.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to ask that. Plus, we want people to read the book.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thank you.
See, I told you curiosity was a big theme. Stay curious and never stop learning. Chris's curiosity for life clearly is his real passion, and I love how it can lead to so many adventures. Let Chris and I know what you think of the episode. Add a comment on the Accidental Information Facebook page or tweet us at accidentalinfo using hashtag #LivingYourJourney. You can find out more about Chris, a link to his book, and some additional content and highlights all at accidentalinformation.com. If you like what you heard, I'd love it if you gave us a review in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. These are super helpful for bringing new episodes to life and new guests each week. Living Your Journey is available every Tuesday. Until next week.